because I know there's a number of people that also, before we open the floor, that might already have questions to us, but also inputs, talking about their observation as well, how South Africa is conducting itself with the world, but also in particular the African continent as well. That if we're talking about opportunities, we must not always look at Europe, but also looking at the African continent as well. That as much as we are strong in SADC region, we're also quite strong in the continent as well. But I want to open the floor for inputs, because I know some of these issues we speak about in the academia as well, in terms of the critical thinking of certain issues that South Africa is involved in, either in peace and security development and social development as well. So just in terms of the showing of hands, I want to maybe start by taking 5 inputs and questions that we would like the Deputy Minister to engage on, and then we'll take the second opportunities as well. Just by the show of hands, please. I will start right at the back and then go all the way to the front. If I can be assisted with a roving mic, please. I just want to locate it as well as we speak. Thank you very much. All right, I will start with the oh, I can't see properly. I know I'm dark, and if it's dark at the back, I really can't see properly, but now thank you so much, sir. If you can just introduce yourself, and thank you so much for assisting us through the program, Deputy Minister. That gentleman right at the back has been very instrumental to get this program started as well. Let's give him a hand before he even asks the question. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You may go ahead.
Good day, everyone. My name is Nduduzo Duma. I would just like to ask to the Deputy Minister, in terms of my own understanding, that as a country, we are, as much as we still are a developing country, we still have a long way to go. We have our flaws, but we still have the bright side of things. We are a democracy. Even right now, the government is combined of many different political parties. There's a peaceful transfer of power and everything. But when we look to other African countries, our brothers and sisters, our neighboring countries, we do have countries that aren't that, I would argue myself, democratic. And I would believe that in our case, so basically, with that being said, I pose this question: what form of pressure, or either economic or whatever, but what form of pressure are we putting to those governments who don't serve the people but serve themselves, who claim they are democratic, but when you really look at them, you're stripping people of their power? As South Africa, and you as the department, what would you say, or what pressure are we putting on those countries? I'm not going to name them. I'm just saying, I'm just going to say those countries. What pressure are we putting on them to give their...
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Zuma, you said? Duma. Thank you so much. You see, my eyes and my ears. Thank you so much. Second input. Before we get the second input, maybe the Deputy Minister can respond to that.
No, thank you very much, Mtati Duma. It's good that we corrected the surname, because I thought it's Zuma and it's Zondo. And, no, but thanks very much. I think you raise a critical issue. Look, we as South Africa understand our leadership role in terms of Pan-Africanism. We understand it absolutely. And we have been criticized. You know, your analysts speak about South Africa is a reluctant hegemon. So it says we know our responsibilities, we have the capacity and capabilities to intervene elsewhere in Africa, but we are reluctant to do that. We are reluctant to do that, ladies and gentlemen, for a number of reasons. Firstly, remember, your province, KZN, is actually the inaugural home of the African Union, the AU. It was founded under the stewardship of President Mbeki in 2002, right here in Durban. And part of the constitutional frameworks of the AU Constitutive Act, speak about the central role of what we call RECs, your regional economic communities. That is the same, like, for example, in SADC, we have SADC. In East Africa, you have ECOWAS, isn't it so? Etc. So the role of your regional economic communities is to make sure that where there is difficulties to adhere to the governance frameworks of the AU, for example, one of the aspirations, out of the 7 aspirations of the AU, one of it speaks about democracy and good governance. So what the AU then did, Ntatituma, is to put place a number of key mechanisms, such as your African Peer Review Mechanism, your APRM, for self-peer review. For example, Zimbabwe, for a number of years, were not part of the APRM. But as we speak today, like South Africa, Zimbabwe is part of APRM. So it's able to be peer reviewed by other member states. So that's one key mechanism that we are putting in place. And then our responsibility in terms of adhering to good governance, it's primarily done through your regional economic community, your REC. If you look at, again, ladies and gentlemen, you would recall that in the Kingdom of Lesotho, there was a difficulty, isn't it so, a couple of years back. President Ramaphosa was then appointed by the SADC Troika to be the SADC envoy to Lesotho, with a clear mandate to engage in dialogue, mediation, and engagement, with the ultimate aim to ensure there's necessary reforms that take place in Lesotho. And as a consequence of that positive work President Ramaphosa did, we had then what you call very good elections in the Kingdom of Lesotho. As we speak now, the Mozambique is going to elections. And once again, in terms of good governance, the good thing is in SADC, the leaders don't clinch the power, ladies and gentlemen. Hakiri, there's this problem of what we call third-termism, those that are wanting to clinch to power forever. In SADC, like South Africa, like Lesotho, like Zimbabwe, you have Botswana, there is regular interface of peaceful elections and transition to democratic rule. So in Mozambique, President Nyusi is not standing because of the term restriction. You have not seen there's been an attempt to change the constitution. You don't see that anymore, in particular here in SADC, because of the maturity of leadership. So, Ntatituma, the one issue for us to pivot and to deepen the AU Agenda 2063, the one indispensable aspect that we require as Africa is leadership. It's leadership. The policies are there, the frameworks are there, the lessons learned are there. What needs to be done? It's a responsibility of leadership to ensure that they subordinate their own political interests to the broader good of the people and of society. And Chief.
Thank you so much. Deputy Minister, there's been a number of people that also have been engaging with us on Ubuntu Radio platform as well. Nogo Kanga Kulu, I know if I can locate her. She was talking about OR Tambo. If you can just mention your observation on OR Tambo, because she was making some inputs on OR Tambo. If you can just get the mic to the front, please. Yes, right, sit here on the second row. Thank you so much.
Hi everybody, my name is Nokanya Kulu. No, I was just reading up that Ora Tambo, he was the one who actually made multilateralism in South Africa because he was engaging the international community on bringing peace in Africa and trying to isolate the apartheid government. And I was quite intrigued by that, and I just wanted to know how we can actually uphold that standard of keeping that OR Tambo stance in foreign policy.
Deputy Minister, you want to expand on that? Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much, Nokanya. I think the life of Oliver Tambo is a life of dedication and selflessness. So, dedication and selflessness. And that is what you call it should be a life lesson to our students here. That when you have conviction and you are dedicated to that conviction, you can do anything else. You would recall that Oliver Tambo became the acting president of the ANC because of the mysterious manner in which Chief Albert Luthuli died. And he then, with Julius Nyerere and a number of other leaders, then championed through the Organization of African Unity, which was established in 1963, the decolonial struggle of Africa. So they championed that struggle, through what we call the non-aligned movement, through the OAU. And the Freedom Charter, the one reason why we had democratic elections now is because in the 1996 Constitution, reference are being made about the Freedom Charter. One of the clauses of the Freedom Charter says no government can claim unjustly authority unless it is based on the will of the people through regular elections, okay? And that's why there's an obligation on the South African government as the custodians of the 1996 Constitution to give expression to that seminal document that was drafted under the leadership of Oliver Tambo. For us in foreign policy execution, what informs our views and optics as it relates to a number of key difficult issues is the clause that speaks about there shall be peace and friendship. There shall be peace and friendship. So our issues about making sure that, like what happened in South Africa, where you had the oppressed that agreed to sit across a negotiation table with the oppressor, engage in reconciliation in the interest of your people. What Nelson Mandela did there was because of the leadership of Oliver Tambo. Because of the leadership of Oliver Tambo, that have informed, your ethical conduct of everyone, including of Nelson Mandela. And that's why when we speak about South Africa, what is our views on world security, we speak about the fact that any conflict must be resolved through peaceful diplomacy, to peace diplomacy, to negotiations and mediation. That is what we speak about. We do that on the war. We do it also to keep the lines open with the Israeli state on engagements as it relates to their conduct on the genocide of Palestine. We do that where we engage the United States of America on the coercive unilateral economic blockade against the people of Cuba, and on unilateral economic sanctions that the EU, for example, are imposing on the people of Zimbabwe. We do all that because I've earlier said that the one person in the entirety, across all political strands, all civic or people's organization, that is the sum total of our collective experience in struggle, is Oliver Tambo. Because of that consistent dedication to a core belief that is centered on human rights. Our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, gives everyone in South Africa the right to have their own political, religious, and personal views that does not conflict with anyone in society. And when we engage in peace diplomacy and reconstruction and development, for example, if you look at the difficulties in the Darfur at the moment in Sudan, where you have a famine that are taking place, we encourage dialogues between and amongst those groups, especially in the SPLM and other groups, to say that in the interest of the Sudanese people, what can be done to guarantee peace, and what can be done to ensure that you as a representative of a particular ethnic or social group in Sudan, those interests can be firmly embedded in a new constitutional order. And that's why our diversity in South Africa became our unity. And it's a mirror image of the tests and the difficulties that, for example, elsewhere in the world that we are faced with. So thank you very much, Nabaya.
Thank you very much. I think I will take maybe four all at once, 4 questions at once. I also have my own, Deputy Minister, but I'll ask towards the end as well. Can I just have 4, then we can take all of them at once. Yes, the gentleman right at the back, and I'll move to the lady here, and then we'll move to the 3rd row. And then, will the 4th one be mine? Okay, great. Oh, no, I will actually reserve it for the front 2. So we'll take 5 of them, yes. Please introduce yourself, please.
Thanks, Deputy Minister. Greetings, everyone. My name is Pilani Mngcwabe. On the reflections of Oliver Tambo, Minister, he classified the youth as the young lions. And the youth at that particular time were looking for the freedom of South Africa. And we have attained freedom, and Minister, I want to push for a new type of young lions that still ascribe to the teachings of Oliver Tambo, which would be an economic and internationalist young lions. Also, Minister, I'm going to go towards where you are deployed, where Comrade Oliver Tambo looked at the situation where the mass democratic movement was at, and he ensured that a Morocco conference sit. And I believe that we do need a national conference that aligns the ANC, and that would pave how the ANC national foreign policy looks, and will also address the internal dynamics. Also, Minister, you spoke well about the tariffs. And Minister, I pose that if the tariffs that will liberate South Africa and would ensure that South Africa trades freely within the global community, and especially in Africa, does not speak and address the aspirations of the motive force, then it's no change at all. If the invisibles remain invisible in the economic participation, and these tariffs enable those who, when we classify and look at our economic structure, still benefit, then those benefits are still apartheid in nature. Thank you, Minister.
Thanks so much, sir. All right. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Sam Chatinde. So my question is based on the opportunity side of things. I mean, by the way, I'm an honors in international relations student. So now, when it comes to DECO vacancies, they usually want a small number of people. For example, find that the internship will be saying that we can only take 25 students. But then, so now my thing is, I mean, there are a lot of students in the country studying for their masters, honors, and etc. So now, how do we tackle the bridge between the fact that varsities are producing a lot of graduates while opportunities are limited? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. There was a hand right in the middle, a lady over here in the front, the second row. You still have your question? Okay. Can you please move to the front to her?
Oh, there was a hand at the back.
Oh, right. Oh, I skipped you, right? Okay, we're coming to you. My apologies. Immediately after this, all right? All right, thank you so much.
Greetings. I want to, I'll deviate a little bit. I want to speak on the issue of human trafficking. Is it like you guys are focused just on like economic development for the country or betterment of the country? Like what's your on these like human trafficking issues that the country faces, considering the socio-economic conditions that we as South Africans live under, and probably won't get like the same opportunities as those that are like at the forefront of experiencing the positive impact of your guys's.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry. Please, I couldn't get your name, please.
Sinotando Jamile.
Sinotando. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. Sanmonani, my name is Lindile Zobani.
Cindy.
Minister, thank you so much for visiting us and delivered such important information. It was inspiring of career, and I'm very interested in this, department. So my question is, you said something about Orlando Tambo and Nelson Mandela being the greatest leaders of their times. Through them, we were able to be a democratic country and establish peace as well, right? So my question is, what about the youth of South Africa, the current youth of South Africa? The reason why I'm asking this is because we recently had an incident whereby our fellow foreigners were burnt alive in South Africa, in our country. And then one of my fellow mates, my age mate, was like, hey, Mara, they deserved it. Why are they coming to our country? They are taking our jobs. They are doing this and this and that. I'm like, with a person with that kind of mentality, how are we going to be the future leaders? Because this is what this is all about, having leadership skills, to unite the countries, to bring peace. In order for us to industrialize, just as you have touched, we need to industrialize, we need to develop, for our country's benefit. And all of that tomorrow will be done by the youth of this country. So my concern is that you as an organization, as a department, what are you guys doing about that? Are you guys planning to make organizations or programs to educate our youth about these matters? Because we are going to be leaders. I believe one day I'm going to be a leader of this country. How, I do not know, and do not ask me, people. Do not ask me. But what are you guys as an organization doing about that? When you guys do decision makings, do you take the youth as the utmost importance? Do you even consider the youth of this country? We need to grow, we need to become leaders. Is that your utmost important? That's my question to you as an organization. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister, what are you guys doing in terms of bringing young people and making sure they actively participate? So you guys must address this question in full. Yes, I think, is there another one before I take him? Because right at the back, thank you very much. I told you about my eyes and looking at back, yeah. You may go, sir.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Yes.
My name is Patrick Nyamaruze, and thank you, Minister, for the insights. So my question has to do with the 4 pillars that you just explained. I'm going to start with the issue of vaccine nationalization. So seeing that chances are very high that we are going to be experiencing a lot of pandemics, what is Africa, AU, or SADC, what are they doing to ensure that we are prepared for any eventualities? Because we cannot continue to rely on superpowers. Chances are very high that they are going to be prioritizing their own populations. So what is AU as a body doing in order to make sure that we can develop our own vaccines in the future? The second aspect has to do with the Security Council, and I will just refer you to, I think in 2016, there was a presentation that was done by the former and late president of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, and he did highlight the issue of whereby there are only superpowers who have veto power, and that's almost 8 years to 10 years from now. So the question is, what has AU as a body, what steps have they done in order to ensure that there is representation of at least one African country? As you rightly said, that 70% of the issues that are discussed has to do with African countries. So what is being done to ensure that we have representation at the body? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will conclude in the front. Yeah, Deputy Minister, talking about the pandemic, I still remember traveling with you, having to do the COVID test. By the time I came back in the country, I'm black, but my nose was red because of the swab we needed to do. Let's conclude, sir.
Yes, my name is a very short question. Pelelani Mkiza. Maybe the Prof can also weigh in. I'm going to preface it with saying the GNU seems to be working very well and proving to be a good sale internationally, as you've seen with the Deputy President in the UK. But however, does the ideological differences between mainly the DA and the ANC pose any threat to our foreign policy, especially with regards to our relationship with the global North countries and our solidarity diplomacy? That's the question.
Thank you very much. The gentleman at the back, I didn't get your name. I don't know if the Minister got you. I didn't get your name, sir. On the UN, and the pandemic and the UNSC.
It's Patrick Nyamaruze. Patrick.
Patrick. All right. Thank you so much. Deputy Minister, if you want to come to the podium, address all the question in full, and that will, thank you so much.
I think let me start with the disclaimer. I'm not supposed to be the pool of wisdom. And let me appreciate some of the critical thinking and the questions. It's complex issues that you are raising. But I think, so the political one is from Tati Makize. We'll leave it for last. Look, I think, Sam, you raise an important issue, and I think we, both with Sam and I think Umalo, there's an issue about the young people. And, you know, South Africa, we are very fortunate. If you look at Japan, the crisis in Japan is that they are having an aging population. So as a result of that, their retirement age was extended because there's an aging population. They don't have enough young people that the Japanese society produce to become, to ensure there's a generational linkage between the older generation and the future. So that is a problem in Japan. In South Africa and in Africa, we have in our demographics, we want to refer to this as it's a youth bulge, and our understanding of that, it's supposed to contribute to a youth dividend. So in South Africa and in Africa, the population is generally more younger than anywhere else in the world. It's supposed to be a positive if what the AU 2063 agenda speaks about, that we will be able to construct this prosperous Africa where there is development, there's no hostilities, there's good governance, there's a robust industrialization. So that's a positive aspect as it relates to a population that can be constituted as a youth bulge, but that you can interpret as a youth dividend, okay? But like in politics, they say for every positive, there's a negative, isn't it so? It's called the law of dialectic, unity of opposites. The antithesis of that, you will find it in what I will say now. In 1994, the approximate number of population in Africa was 600 million. Today, we stand at 1.4 billion. Isn't it so? In 2063, when we are supposed to have constructed an ideal Africa, we are supposed to stand at 3.2 billion. So the one continent where there will be rapid population growth is in Africa. Our biggest challenge will be to ensure that our biggest challenge will be that your economy must equate your population growth, isn't it so? So that's your first step. So if there's students of economics here, look at the population growth of South Africa and look at our GDP economic growth. If our GDP economic growth is lower than your population growth, we have a time bomb, a ticking time bomb, isn't it so? So your first step is to ensure your population and your economic growth is more or less equal. And your second step will be to ensure that for economic prosperity, your economic growth must outweigh your population growth. So that is what we face with in Africa. Now that's why I've said, apart from your African continental free trade area, and I want to demonstrate to you one example why I say this thing, it will work. And this thing will benefit South Africa. If all other African states champion the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, how South Africa champion it, Noma Kanjan, we are going to have a prosperous Africa. But only if they do that. And if the leaders agree to lead the African continent to a more prosperous continent. Let me demonstrate what I'm saying. if we continue in the DRC, you know, all of you, you have what, iPhones, you have Samsung, Huawei, you have all the smartphones. Cobalt, 60% of the world cobalt. Where do you get it? You get it in the DRC. In the DRC. Remember what I said earlier on? Where is there a difficulty with insurgency? It's in the DRC. Where is South African troops active? It's in the DRC. So when we do a political peacekeeping mission, it's about all the time ask yourself, what is the political economic implications and the political economy consequences? Okay? Remember I said there was a difficulty in Mozambique. Why? Because there was liquid gas deposits, isn't it so? So there's that type of a relationship. So the first thing that the leaders of Africa must ensure that all of them are substantively Pan-Africanists. So we must be the first to trade with Algeria. We must be the first to trade with Nigeria. We must be the first to trade with Mozambique, etc. Then you will see the figure, the needle is at 16%. So next year, the needle must move, isn't it so? From 16 to 16.2 to 16.5 to 17%. Because if you upscale African intercontinental trade, it means the money stays in the African continent. But moreover, there's more value addition. There's more value addition. We must be able to ensure that the iron ore that we produce are processed in South Africa. What we do now with many of our biggest trade partners, we look at the numbers of trade figures. But if you look at the trade mix, your value addition does not find expression there. So you have a number of our bilateral trade partners that benefits out of trade with South Africa. There's this coal, exportation of coal that are taking place. The best quality coal. One of the biggest problems why we had this significant problem of load shedding, the best quality coal was locked into agreements with other countries. And as a result, the quality of coal that we had for the benefit of our own power generation was not equal to the ones that we export. And that's why with our intervention in load shedding, we have then changed that type of a narrative. Uguti, charity starts at home, isn't it so? So we have changed that narrative. So I think the most important issue with the young people, and I agree, in the cadet program, which is really the flagship program, and Professor, I really hope that one of you will be successful to get into the cadet program. Because if you get into the cadet program, you will become a member of our foreign service. And like I've said, you will be in the driving seat of executing foreign policy, not only in South Africa, but in the entire 193 member states. We have 115 embassies there. So as we speak now, in the 115 embassies, on average, we have almost 6 to 7 foreign services officers there. And some of them are also accredited on a non-residential basis to other countries. But I agree that it's not enough. Where's the opportunities for the young people? If you do IR, you study international relations, and if I was you, and you do your honors next year, you must ask yourself, where's the greatest opportunity for me to become economically mobile. I don't want to say employed. Employed, it's one component. Economically mobile. Where's the greatest opportunity? Firstly, what you do. You look at the critical skills list published annually. It's published annually. Go on the website of the Department of Higher Education, doc. It puts there, I think it's a list of 200 critical skills. Look at the skills aspect there. Is it reconcilable with what you have? Secondly, we are having the presidency of the G20. What is the biggest thing at the moment that you can think about? The first thing is climate change, isn't it so? In IR studies, in international relations studies, if I was in the third year and I must do my honors, prof, I will specialize in climate change, not as a science of understanding climatology, but as a political variant. The consequence of climate change, the laws, the engagements as it relates to climate discussions, Kyoto Protocol, your Paris Climate Agreement. What does it mean for the rest of the world? The decarbonization agreement, nationally determined contributions, how should just transition unfold? You need experts in that. You need to have your basic IR degree, then you need to have an expert that understand climate change as a consequence of international relations. It's one of the big opportunities. The second one, and this one is huge, is the issue of artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence as a variant of international relations, it's important. As we speak now, the BRICS is convening in the next 2 weeks. The 16 BRICS heads of summit and heads of government are convening the next couple of weeks in Kazan, in Russia, under the chairpersonship of the Russian Federation. I just returned from Kazan. One of the biggest discussions is artificial intelligence, digital infrastructure, and digital access. Now, as an IR student, when you look at doing your honors, when you look at doing your masters, why don't you do specialization in artificial intelligence? It speaks to the BRICS outlook in the future, the G20 presidency of South Africa. One of the key issues that we are going to look at is the role of artificial intelligence and the development prosperity of the rest of the world. Canada next year chairs the G7, the 7 most industrialized economies. Remember, in the industrialized economies, apart from the number ones of Germany, you have Germany there, you have Japan there, isn't it so? They are chairing, Canada are chairing the G7. One of their priorities is artificial intelligence. So if you are a student in IR, you then say, look, I have done the basics. How do I make sure I become more mobile? You specialize in those things that you know it's the world assists with. That is what you do. Because if you do that, you know, there's what we call a number of non-state actors and international organizations, such as SADC. You know, the head office of SADC is in Botswana and Gaborone. The head office of the AU is in Addis in Ethiopia. You know, we have the head of the EU Commission is in Brussels, for example. You need to have students of South Africa competing with other students in the rest of the world. Our basic difficulty, us, Claudia, is that South Africans, young South Africans, unlike other African young people, you don't see them that they are working elsewhere in the world. And so there is opportunities. And I think one of the issues that public diplomacy will do, as you continue to exchange contact details with our foreign services members, is to exchange contact details so that when there's opportunities advertised internationally, apart from in South Africa, we want you to give us a call and say, look, Deputy Minister, or like some of you, you like to say, leadership. You were in KZN, Kumbula. Then I said, yeah, I was there. I'm interested to apply to become an official of SADC in Gaborone. Can you write a motivational letter to that extent? And we will do it. If you are in good standing with the university, and you are not a problem in society, we will do that. Sisonke, ne? Are we together on that one? I think Ntati Mabuza, I think you have raised a very important issue about how do we prepare for future pandemic. The good news is, because of the sterling leadership that President Ramaphosa has provided during the COVID-19 pandemic, the AU have appointed him to be the AU champion on COVID-19 pandemic and related diseases. So as a result, we have what we call, established by the AU, your CDC, Center for Disease Control. Center of Disease Control is almost like your NICD, you know, the medical scientific center that are geared towards making sure that we are able to strengthen your primary healthcare services. So the first thing in Africa, your primary healthcare services are supposed to be strengthened in the entirety of Africa and in South Africa. If you can recall, the Cubans during COVID-19, what happened? They exported their medical doctors to Africa and elsewhere to the world. Remember, there was what you call the Henry Reeves Medical Brigades from the Cubans. Because the Cubans' primary health sector is probably the best in the world. So primary health, and that's why there's an issue about your national health insurance, isn't it so? To ensure that your primary health must be equitable, financially accessible to all people. So the first issue is your CDC, that is the information that they do. The second issue is that they have ceased with working, is to have in place what you call your protocols for disease outbreaks. What happens when the WHO, your World Health Organization, declare a disease to be a pandemic? What happens at that point? There's certain national and continental protocols that should be in place. The second issue is about, once again, the financial aspect. Do the African Union have the necessary financial symmetry as it relates to your future diseases? So there is a program. The last issue, which is, the second last issue, it's about human trafficking. Look, we are working with UN Children, a number of your international human trafficking organizations, to ensure that we stop South Africa's transitional role in human trafficking. So we are working with our fellow brothers and sisters and the UN organizations around that issue. The last issue, Ntati Mkhize, it's because I suppose you are a political analyst of some sort. Look, the government of national unity is here. It's embraced by South Africans. It's embraced by all political parties. Isn't it so? And I want to tell you why, because I've read a survey 2 days back. You must read the survey. In the survey, it says during the elections, before the GNU, the ANC got 40%. Hakiri, that was during the elections. Now it says 100 days after the GNU. They say if elections was today, the ANC would get 45%. You know what it says? It's a confidence in the type of governance structure that are in place. It's a confidence in the GNU. Because what it means, because you have a constellation of different interests in cabinet, no one wants to put a foot wrong. You have seen it. Yeah? No one wants to put a foot wrong because if I put a foot wrong, this one of this other political party will outshine me. And Abantu, the people of South Africa, will know that. So, and that's why you also now have more confidence. You must look at your economic figures. If you are interested in your economic figures, there is more FDI inflows now. In South Africa, you know the rand have strengthened, eh? Not because of the victory of Orlando Pirates, no. With that referee, we'll still talk about it. Not because of the rand have strengthened, you have seen also that the repo rate have gone down. So when your parents, when your elders are lending, they lend at a reduced rate that they have to pay back. It helps with your normal economic livelihood, your cost of living. It was one of the elections manifesto commitments, cost of living, to reduce it. So the GNU, even your international community, now you can see even the USA says, yeah, the ANC was too big of an elephant. So now we can engage because now it's a GNU. So you have a more sense of that the entire identity of the people in South Africa is in the GNU. So you are going to see an increase of GDP. Your growth rates, you are going to see an increase of GDP. So from the time of the elections, that was around what, 0.9%, yeah? 0.9%. There is certain things. We have stabilized Eskom. Hakuna load sharing mos. There's no load sharing. Secondly, the crisis that was here with the ports, it has been remedied, isn't it so? The issues of the rail, the issues of organized criminal syndicates. The predictions is what business have said to government when they met with President Ramaphosa, is that if you continue to do what you do now, you are likely to see a 3% economic GDP growth in the next 2 years in South Africa. It will mean more jobs for South Africans. It will mean less unemployment. It will mean less poverty. So we have absolute confidence that the mandate of the electorate of working together in a diverse team that are united on the common goals of poverty, unemployment, and inequality is the right decision for Umzansi. Enkosi Umhlaba.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to quickly call to the podium Surprise Malehase to talk about that important career opportunities that the Deputy Minister have already spoken about. So he will do that briefly, and let's give him a round of applause, please.
Sanbonan, niyaphila kodwa. The Deputy Minister has been throwing a lot of Zulu words here. I'm a bit challenged. My sister over there, she spoke about a very important issue that she wants to be a leader and she believes that she will be one. And I'm very much comfortable with that, and I believe so, that she will be one. Prof, we have just advertised about 63 internship in the department, and we have absorbed them through that process for about 24 months, and you will be glad to know that one of the students comes from here. Now, so with cadet program, of course, it's much different because it's a program that where you expect students to go through a proper training for a period of 24 months. But the first year, it's a very, very intense training. And then the second year, it's a desk experience. What we call a desk experience, it means that the administrative aspect of that program. So that the Deputy Minister spoke about foreign service officials with these cadet programs which have already been advertised, and I guess that you may have seen the advert. You must go to the DPSA, but I think that through Prof here, we will send you the link. The closing date is on the 18th of October this month. So then the program will start next year from January and right through until 2027 December. So it's 2 years. Now, I want to touch a bit on the cadet program, DM, because that is where we trained our diplomats, unlike perhaps an internship program. And of course, we used to target just a faculty of humanity, but we have tried to broaden that it should not be necessarily only those who have studied political science and international relations. But we have broadened that. When we send the link, at least you will see that we have tried to expand the program to go just beyond the Faculty of Humanity, and precisely because we've acknowledged, DM, that diplomacy is becoming more complex, and it occupies even many space of discipline as well. So with this cadet program, when you go through a program for at least 2 years, or 1 year rather, and then the desk experience, then you are absorbed into the system of the department. Then you've got an option to be a diplomat. And then you are posted into our service delivery point, which is our diplomatic missions. And Deputy Minister here spoke about at least 115. We've got quite a number of students. I know some came from here who had the opportunity to be in New York, in our premier multilateral institution, to be in Addis Ababa, to be in Geneva and Vienna. And we believe that KZN, of course, is going to produce more of these students, UKZN in particular. And the Deputy Minister is correct that through G20 program, DM, at least that we've got a bit of budget to have this outreach. We are going to come back here to KZN and to engage more with students, especially with these career opportunities. So we are going to at least absorb about 25 of these cadets. And I believe so that one of you or 2 or 3 will be part of that. No doubt about that, Prof. We are going to send the link to you. With internship, it's going to be 15. We are going to add on the 63 of this internship. The internship covers administrative aspect of DERCO, your supply chain, your HR, your finance, and those courses that are not related to the political line function. So we are very much excited that at least that KZN is the first university to engage on this program. So we are going to do that to all universities, Prof. But we are very glad that at least we have started here to interface with yourself. And I'm very happy that to see the level of discussion here with the DM, that it's more intellectual. So we are convinced that through this engagement, we are able to at least attract more students. And of course, our programs, it does not necessarily end on the training of cadet, yourself in particular, at a management level or academia. So we are hoping to improve the quality of the training, because at least when it comes to the curriculum, our diplomatic training, it's engaging with more universities, that at least that the curriculum should be linked to quite a number of universities. And the diplomatic academy, they want to come here at the University of KZN, so to be assisted about the diplomatic training. So I'm happy to at least have had my sister there, and I hope that you are going to apply this cadet program, and including the internship program, when the prof here share you with that link. So this item, I know that it stands between yourself and lunch. That's a very important item. So I need to be very careful on that. But Prof and DM, we are very grateful that at least we had this opportunity to engage with students, and I wish you the best when you write your exam, even those comrades who are at least campaigning. Let's prioritize education. That's a secret weapon that you must have, that at least when you are against the wall in terms of unemployment, at least that you've got education. So we want to wish you the best in your exam, including those who are campaigning. And I would at least, if there's a woman who is campaigning to be an SRC, I was going to support that candidate. Thank you very much, Prof.
Yeah, thank you very much. Ntate Mohale, that's why you give the young leaders the podium. You need to guarantee 30 minutes of campaigning as well. So thank you so much. Mr. Melias, thank you so much. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you, Prof, and again to your institution, and I now to welcome you to the podium to give the vote of thanks. Thank you so much.
So thank you so much, Program Director. And I think in future you are one of us, so it's okay if you welcome me. So distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and friends, it is indeed my great honor to extend a sincere vote of thanks on behalf of all present today. Firstly, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to our Deputy Minister of International Relations, Honorable Alvin Botus. Let's give him a round of applause. Whose presence and insightful contributions have certainly enriched our discussions today. Your reflections on 30 years of South Africa's foreign policy and the enduring influence of Comrade O.R. Tambo have been truly inspiring. And I think the kind of questions that we had from our audience today bears testimony to that kind of input that you provided. You know, this entire project, DM, was driven by Mr. Surprise. And I think he was, for me, he spearheaded. And the kind of personality that he brought to the table, I think, bears testimony to the huge success of today's event. He ensured that we were all on our toes. He ensured that he had impactful but 15-minute meetings. And that, for me, was really a very strategic and a huge time saver. So I want to say a huge thank you to Surprise. Of course, a thank you to Mr. Malusi as well, from the Ministry, both from the Ministry of International Relations and Cooperation, particularly for your invaluable support in making this event a reality. We had some stumbling blocks, but none of those stumbling blocks deterred us. We were going to persevere. And that is why we ensured that this event takes place today. So your dedication to strengthening our foreign policy continues to propel us forward. I think it's the kind of department that showed us today how impactful it is in each and every one of our lives, whether we are in academia, students, communities, state, non-state actors, etc. DM, you spoke about the youth bulge in Africa, and how do we capitalize on that youth bulge to make positive impacts in Africa? You spoke about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and its purpose and benefits for us in Africa. You spoke about the United Nations Security Council. how important that is. And I think for us as academia, a challenge in terms of making international law a compulsory subject for each and every student in the country, so that we begin to understand our own purpose in terms of what happens in DRC, in terms of what happens in Mozambique, for example. What are international obligations when we become signatories to that treaty, for example? And I think in those words of yours, you made us realize how important we as a country, how important we are in terms of the African Union, in terms of Africa, and also how we are impacted in terms of economically if we have weak understandings of our own role in Africa, and then of course outside of Africa as well. So closer home, we are also incredibly grateful to our Vice Chancellor, Professor Nana Poku, who is also the principal of the university, for his leadership and fostering spaces where meaningful dialogues like these can actually flourish. His commitment to academic excellence and the advancement of global discourse is deeply appreciated by us. To our UKZN Councillor, Dr. Mark Hay, for his eternal commitment to the growth of UKZN. Thank you so much, Mark, for being here at such short notice as well. To Professor Machwane, who has left us already, the Dean and Head of School of Applied Human Sciences, the school that I come from, for her continuous ambition to make UKZN greater. To Professor Kalema, who's also left us because he also has another engagement, I want to thank him for gracing us with his presence at today's critical event and his quest to gain new insights. To the Director of Corporate Relations Division at UKZN, first of all, our Executive Director, Ms. Noma Zondo, for always supporting our initiatives, for holding our hands, especially in terms of how do we position UKZN within the province, regionally, and in Africa as well. But of course, she does more stuff internationally. Two very important role players from the Corporate Relations Division, Ms. Oliswa Zulu and Ms. Pamela Adams, who provided us with unwavering support for tirelessly coordinating today's lecture. Your professionalism and organizational skills, Pamela and Koliswa, ensured that we have a seamless success today. Today's program owes much of its success also to the exceptional leadership of Telefani as the program director. We needed that zest, we needed the energy, and you brought that to the stage. Thank you so much for that. I would like to acknowledge our service providers and all the staff behind the scenes who worked hard and paid attention to detail to make today's event possible. To RMS, our Risk Management Service, and ICS, specifically ICS, Tintin and Musa, who were here for yesterday's site visit, as well as some of our RMS colleagues. We appreciate your commitment to ensuring the safety and security of our guests, our DM, his entourage, and also for the events, for the smooth operation of today's events. You know, they say you always keep the best for last. Sorry, DM, but the best is, of course, our audience today. So to our distinguished delegates, attendees, and participants, and in that I mean students as well, without you, today's function would never be a success. Let's give it up for you, students. I know to many of my own students, and I claim them, I've been prepping them since the first week that Surprise and I started the conversation. And I'm really so appreciative of the fact that you made the time to be here today and have the kind of critical engagements that you did with our DM. Let us leave today with a renewed sense of purpose as we continue to reflect on Comrade O.R. Tambo's vision and South Africa's role in the global arena. Thank you once again to everyone who made today's event a resounding success.
Thank you so much, Prof. And that concludes our program. Just to say that as we begin, the Deputy Minister says we need to vote for Rowan Williams. On Ubuntu Radio ZA on X, which is old Twitter, as we have it, well, the new Twitter that is, you'll find we posted the link to voting for Rowan Williams as well, to advance our cultural diplomacy as well. Go to that link. Thank you so much. Lunch is served right outside. Thank you.